Hello, and welcome to Geeks Assembled. And today we will be discussing a certain episode of a certain little, shall we say, British comedy sitcom, what was big in the UK back in the 1970s, and as far as I know, it was quite big over in the USA later on. So we will be talking about Are You Being Served? And the Christmas episode, The Father Christmas Affair. So, without any further ado, we will go to Connor and see what he thought of this episode. Let's all brace ourselves.
Are You Being Served is like something that passed me by, but I have watched it on and off. I will admit, unfortunately, you probably heard this loads of time with comedies on here, it is not my type of comedy. But in this one in particular, there was some very, very funny bits. The Flashing Santa, for example, which I had some very dark thoughts in my head when watching that. But that was very funny, actually. I did burst out laughing at that. And then at the end, where they're all dressed up as Santa, and the guy gets down on his hands and knees and looks up the dress of a man dressed as a woman dressed as Santa. So that was an interesting combination. Wendy Richard is the one that stands out for me because I know her most for EastEnders, where she played Pauline Fowler. But to see her in this, she's very sort of ditzy. She's not that... she doesn't seem that well educated, you know, she's not very bright, but still, she's such a great actress, I think, personally. She's sadly missed. She died, must have been 10, 11 years ago now, a very long time ago. So I think most of the cast, actually, of this are now, unfortunately, deceased. But they're all great characters. Mrs. Slocum, when there was the jibes at the table of her age, that was wonderful, I thought. Overall, it's not very festive. So I think it's a bit jarring for me that it's supposed to be a Christmas special, but there's nothing really that festive about it. And at the end, where the old man is offering them £50 to play Father Christmas, and there's the moment of shock where you think, because there's a woman under the table, you think, there's something quite dirty is going on there. Turns out that's not the case. She's just on the floor. But it is. There are some very appealing bits in humour to me, but overall, it's not my favourite type of humour. But I think it's overall very enjoyable. Just a bit jarring because it's not that festive. So I think overall, for an entertainment alone, I will give it a 7.5 out of 10.
7.5 from Connor. Well, that was a better review than I thought it would have been. And I'm afraid to say, yes, all the cast are no longer with us now. So they've all passed. So on that note, we will go to Susan.
Yeah, I watched quite a bit of Are You Being Served on public television in the United States. And they are so funny. I mean, it's roll on the floor, laugh yourself silly kind of humor, and it actually tends to get better with age. In my case, I'm not opposed to the whole, it just, the humor's funny, the characters were great, I enjoyed the personality of the people playing the roles, and Santa being all the different kinds of Santa, including what was his name? the one who ended up doing the mammy bit. Oh my gosh, that was just outrageous. It was like uncomfortable humor. It was just so fun. It was like it could have been, interpreted now as so racist, but it was so uncomfortable and so funny. Anyway, so yeah, I love that, and I guess Mrs. Slocum and Mr. Humphreys are got to be my favorite. Can't say enough good things about them. They're adorable and super cool, and I'm so glad Mr. Humphreys went all the way and put on the Mrs. Claus, sexy Mrs. Claus dress and heels, and that was quite cute actually. And so yeah, and Mrs. Slocum, putting on the wig and the big beard, that was also cute. Anyway, that's what I've got for. Oh, I'll give it an 8.5, I think, too. Yeah, that's great.
8.5 from Susan. Thank you for that. And we'll move on to one of the original members of the Merry Strippers. Here's Beef Dad.
Thank you for that. One of the joys of Are You Being Served is it was totally non-PC. As has been mentioned, Mr. Granger lacking up to do the old Jolson impression to entertain the old folks at the old folks home. The thing for me that was hysterical was Mr. Lucas and Mr. Humphreys, whose full name actually is Wilberforce Claiborne Humphreys, trying to teach old Mr. Granger how to present the song. It's just so funny, just so hysterically funny. And of course, earlier on, you had Mrs. Slocum modelling a hat, which of course the woman didn't buy, and Captain Peacock was not surprised. She did look dreadful in it. But yeah, there was forever. It wasn't just in this episode. It was happening all the time. You were never entirely sure about young Mr. Grace, the elderly owner of the Emporium, and his nurse, Miss Bakewell. You were never entirely sure just quite what that relationship was about. And it gave you so many laughs. It was really so very, very funny. Arthur English, a very, very famous British actor, from the stage, television, films. He was into everything. Brilliant actor, played Harry Harmon, the caretaker guy. But as been mentioned, probably the most hysterical thing about this was the flashing Father Christmas. They pressed the button and it was just hysterical. It was just hysterical. The look on Mrs. Slocum's face was a piece of magic. I remember this when it was first aired, and I think it was 1970s. Yeah, it was the year before my son was born. It was 1976. Yeah. absolutely brilliant, great fun. If you can watch some of the rest of it, do, because you'll love it. For me, it gets 9.5 out of 10.
It's okay. I found it. It was in the waste bin. Right. A 9.5 from Beef Dad. Right. We will move on now, and we'll see what Alex thought of Are You Being Served?
Yeah, it's funny because when it first showed on the local public television station, and they probably didn't show this episode because it isn't PC. I mean, I don't know if the rest of the group or the group as a whole will agree with me. Politically Correct originally was trying to get rid of some of the labels and some of the nasty terms. Unfortunately, you can always substitute it for other labels and other words. But there's a difference when you tease somebody or you make a joke, and there's a difference between being mean and cruel and things like that. Most of the time, the show wasn't cruel. It was a little off color, but that's okay. I liked it. Plus, it was the humor of the time. Benny Hill, Are You Being Served, other shows. But except for the Flashing Santa, and I know they were trying to be a little racy, and they should be. You can't always be polite. But I did like it. I do like most of the episodes. They have a great set of characters. I know they tried to redo it, and it just didn't work. The cast, the pacing, the direction, they know what they're doing. So most of the episodes, if not 90%, are going to be funny. This one was funny also because of the Al Jolson. And, you shouldn't be so... Some people might be offended by the blackface, but that was the style back then, and that was also the show back then. And it was a minstrel show, or however you want to phrase it. And that's fine. They only did it for a certain part of the song or a certain part of the episode, and they moved on. And there was a lot of funny jokes. As I said, the cast is great, and that's why I like it. Of course, it's a little off color, but that's the style back then. So as I started watching the show, and I started, hearing the characters and watching the characters, it's a great cast, and that's probably why the show lasted so long. And that's probably why they tried to bring it back. Unfortunately, the new cast did not have the same personality, sparkle, humor. It just didn't work. And that's why you probably want to come up with something, either a really good writer or something original, as opposed to remaking everything. But the Father Christmas, I will give it about an 8. I give it about an 8.9, I'd say.
Thank you for that, Alex. Right, my turn. Are You Being Served? As a whole, for me, is just a classic comedy series. I've got the complete box set. Love it. This particular one, the Father Christmas Affair, as you say, the Christmas display unit. Ho, 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 have I got a surprise for you, little boy? That conjures up things in your mind. I mean, it was pure humour, risque humour, and that's what humour should be, to make you laugh. I don't agree with any of this PC brigade, to be honest. It's got, if it's funny, if it's against race, gender, sexuality, whatever, if it's funny and you can laugh all together at it, then do it. Don't pussyfoot about being polite to people, because it doesn't make the show funny if you cut any of that out. And this is why this worked, and this is why so many of those shows back then worked so well, because they didn't go around the subject. They just went straight ahead and did it. And that's why it's so good. As you say, yeah, Mr. Granger Black, I wasn't offended. I don't think Alex wasn't offended with that. It's funny. Mrs. Slocum talking about, if she's not home by 7 p.m, her pussy always climbs up her busy Lizzie. It's you know, it's innuendo. That's all it is. It's nothing. It's all in the mind, and it's brilliant. As you said, Mr. Humphreys, and it was never in the series. It was never ever said that he was the gay character. It never said that. It was always, you assume that, but when someone was asked about it in the series, he never mentioned it. But the way he was dressed as Mrs. Santa, only John Inman could have done that. It was just brilliant. And so Mr. Lucas doing his cheese toasty in the trouser press. It's just pure comedy gold. But you know, it's when they all gather around to have their meetings on the shop floor. There's nobody else at the counters, but there's always customers walking around. I wonder how many shoplifters they had. But for me, yeah, it's say Miss Brahms, Wendy Richards. Yes, she was the Dipsy character. But did you notice in the episode she nearly lost it? She nearly corpsed at the dinner table. She was laughing, and then you could see them all sort of grinning and looking away. But it was Mr. Lucas and Mrs. Slocum's battle. It's always brilliant to have him going about her age. She's not a bad old stick, but for me. I do miss this. As you say, as sort of they've tried to remake it, but it don't like that. They'll never make another thing like this. This is bottled and keep it for good. It's brilliant. For me, this episode and the whole series, I give it a 10 because it makes me laugh. Show like makes me laugh. Are You Being Saved? It Ain't Half Hot Mum, Dad's Army, Love Thy Neighbour, all that on the buses. Just love anything like this. So for me, as I say, it's a 10. I'm going to open the floor now and let's have a un-PC discussion.
Well, I'm pleased to say that Mrs. Slocum joke about her pussy was probably adorable too. I mean, she is so amazing.
Yeah. No, of course she means her cat, but that's okay, but that's fine. I mean, Love Thy Neighbor, as I mentioned before, to keep it short, every time somebody tries to put it on YouTube, it gets taken down in 2 days. And I watched the show many times, and I didn't see what the problem was with it. I really didn't. I mean, so, I mean, there's a difference between being a little, nasty and a little cruel, you know what I mean? And humor is just like drama. It's supposed to emphasize certain points or certain themes, based on the writing or whatever of characters that remind you of other characters. Some of the best comedians and writers I've ever met said I wrote it based on my life or based on somebody that I knew. So you made it more realistic in a way because you have a context, whereas now there doesn't seem to be any context. They either throw it against the wall and see if it sticks, or as Lee says, they're too polite and then, but again, there's a difference between teasing and being cruel. There's a difference. And I think people don't realize anymore that there's many, just like writing, there's many different degrees of how you phrase things, how you say things, what words you use, and things like that.
Well, I think to add to the PC discussion, because I'm of like a newer generation than everyone here, not to be offensive, of course.
No, that's fine.
What are you saying about my age?
Well, I mean, I admit it. I'm in my mid 40s, but I was raised around. Around a lot of baby boomers. But go ahead.
I'm used to comedy that's probably a bit more out there and outrageous than this is. Like, to me, this would just seem a bit normal. But is it because shows these days are more reactive to how the PC police are? Because I think nowadays the PC police are a bit more forceful in trying to get their agenda across. Like they want everything to be as they want it.
Yeah, I mean, no offense, Connor. Up here in New England, in the United States, they couldn't even show the Red Dwarf episode where Kennedy shoots himself. They just had so many people that were offended by that.
Exactly, and that to me seems like really.
And this was in this was in 1988. So I mean, they just acted like it was very sacrilegious, unfortunately.
Yeah,
everything was fine over in England until this woman called Mary Whitehouse and her brigade.
Oh my gosh!
Got in and really, really tried to screw things up. In fact, she wanted everything censored.
Wow. Yeah. No.
And it was appalling because she really stirred up sentiments against a lot of television programs. So we lost some really, really good television programs because of this old bat who imagined so much unpleasantness. And a lot of it was in her mind. And I think I always thought to myself, my God, if you find that offensive, what sort of mind have you got? Because,
I mean, did she want everything religious, or was it just that she was thinking, that everything had to be extremely?
I know. In the case of Doctor Who, she wanted it to be
no violence,
no violence, no nothing. She wanted it to be like kiddie stuff, because it was a time when Philip Hinchcliffe was going in a horror gothic route.
Right.
She was really tugging.
So what?
State of Decay.
Yeah, did she think that the kids were going to be scarred for life? I mean,
even Philip Hinchcliffe admitted, she was a bit of a thorn in his backside all the time because she really was having a go at Doctor Who.
I mean,
she had power though. She really did gain power, and she had a lot. And as Beef Dad said, we did lose a lot of good programs because of her group.
I mean, did she not realize that it was fiction?
Something of light, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, did she not realize that it was fiction and maybe some,
Oh, that didn't matter to her.
Yeah.
No, that didn't matter to her. Fact or fiction, believe me. If it was fact and it was unpleasant and it was reported on the news, she would complain about the graphic quality of the news.
She complained about the news.
Yeah, she would complain about the news because it was too graphic. The woman was a real pain in the ass.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a little extreme, isn't it, huh?
What happened to her?
Oh, she
died.
She died.
Eventually.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. That seems sad and incredibly just at the same time.
Yeah, sorry, Susan. No, I mean, she has a right. Mary Whitehouse has a right to say her opinion, but at the same point, to kill TV.
But she was trying to put her opinion onto everybody else's viewing opinion.
She was.
That's not right.
Imposing her views on everybody else. It was awful.
Did she ever say anything about
the League of Light? That's what it was called. The League of Light was the.
Yeah. Well, she every TV show she said something about. Even Are You Being Served? It was either say the boss's nurse or secretary or Mr. Humphreys. Mrs. Slocum's remarks to her pussy. It was all stuff like that. And this is why Are You Being Served ended. Because she saw to it ended back then. I mean, it lasted, 10 series, but 10 years. But she put a stop to that, and all these shows stopped. In was it Till Death Us Do Part and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, Lee, not to interrupt, but I mean, they did bring it back with "Are You Being Served Again?" or what I think you guys called it another name.
Grace. We called it Grace and Favour. It lost it lost the humour what was back then.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it didn't really work.
I mean, things had changed. So unfortunately, there was a new brand of PC police by the time she passed
Yes,
away.
but
But
there shouldn't be PC police when it comes to humour.
yeah, humor. Yeah.
Humour is a worldwide thing what everybody can share. You shouldn't build barriers for humour.
Yeah.
To
I
police,
think-
people should police their own words if they, unless they're trying to make a point. And then, censorship is just dead wrong.
Well, no, I mean, but I mean, I'm sorry, guys. As long as it's not cruel, or nasty,
Even if it is, even if
you know
it,
what I mean. But I mean, something that is really attacking somebody, that's different than humor or making fun of something. You can make fun of something. You don't have to be, super nasty or super cruel about it.
Yeah, but she tried to get the Carry On film stopped.
Oh my God! So does this woman have no sense of humor at all?
No.
Was
No.
she quite conservative? Was she like anti-gay, all that sort of?
Well,
She was quite religious, as far as I remember. She was quite religious. So she was most probably anti everything.
yeah. So in other words, sorry guys, I don't mean to jump in. So in other words, she was the religious that makes you want to stay away from the church because it takes away from all the fun of life. All the fun of life. She doesn't.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against it, but again, it's the same thing. It's how you do it. If you're telling people no, 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 no all the time, that
It should be down to the person's discretion what they watch on TV or at the movies. If you want to watch Are You Being Served, go and watch it. Do not listen to this person who's telling you no, that you'll be damned. You will go to hell if you watch episodes of this. This is it was totally bang out of order, and it ruined TV. And I don't think TV's got out of it. I think
the PC police are more prevalent in TV.
Well, I mean that's why they have cable, I guess. But I mean, even they know that there's some things that probably would offend the audience. But again, it depends on why and how you write it. Yeah.
Anything else would anybody like to add before we finish this one?
I'm glad that I'm glad that there was British humor, and I enjoy Monty Python and Benny Hill and Are You Being Served and Love Thy Neighbor, and there's a lot of other shows that I don't recall the name of, but I appreciate the humor. I mean,
what we've got to say in this cast is British humour is the best in the world. Is the best, and there's no denying that. You cannot deny that, because the British know how to laugh at themselves.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you can laugh at themselves, you've made it.
Yeah, I mean, it also takes a certain intelligence. No, sorry, Beef Dad. Also takes a certain intelligence to make fun of yourself. Even Bugs Bunny said it. You gotta laugh. You're not getting out of this alive. So you gotta laugh.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else on How You Been Served before we shut this one down? No.
Inman.
I'm free. Nobody mentioned that one. I'm free. But anyways, thank you a lot for joining us on this Are You Being Served Christmas special discussion and PC discussion. Please subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, join our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter at Geeks Assembled. We're all over the place. Susan's got her own channel. Would you like to?
Yeah, we're going through the classic Who range, starting with Unearthly Child and going all the way to Survival. And this next week we're gonna review Marco Polo from Telesnaps or Recons, and the book. It's also a book review, so thanks for letting me plug that. It's called Doctor Who Are You, and it's on my own channel.
Also, you've also got your radio show on TARDIS Blue Net, was it?
It's TARDIS Blue Radio. It's mixler.com /TBN hyphen sci TBN sci TBN SCI hyphen FITALK / and that'll get you to my radio show. And I'm on Monday and Wednesdays, but probably not as much for this Christmas.
Cool. And we know Connor's got a channel. It's called Wikipedia Lovers and Haters Unite.
Look at that face.
Yes.
What's it really called?
It's really called something that I can't say on here because it's non-PC.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not got an F word in it, has it?
It's called Pornhub.
Yes. Yeah. And on that note,
a very Merry Christmas from us all.
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
holidays, whichever those are.
Yeah, happy holidays.
I got a surprise for you, little boy.
Oh dear.